Welcome back everybody to another episode of Direct Comparison. For today's episode, we're going to look at the recently released Call of Duty Black Ops 4 private beta on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and how it compares visually to 2015's Call of Duty Black Ops 3, also being played on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, this is just an early comparison, and unfortunately we're limited to only a handful of multiplayer levels, but I'll be sure to revisit this title in the future when the game officially releases this fall. Okay, so to kick this comparison off, let's look at some textures and model designs. Now, both games feature different weapon designs and maps, so we can't get a perfect side-by-side, but we're going to make do by comparing similar weapon models in similar environments. So let's take a look at some environmental texture work. I was actually impressed with the textures in both of these Black Ops games. Even on the console platform, the textures are very detailed on most surfaces in the world, including walls, objects, and the ground. The textures might even look a little bit better in Black Ops 4, but it's difficult to tell. What do you guys think? One thing that did stand out to me though was the time it takes for Black Ops 4 to cache textures in the initial load. I never noticed slow loading textures in Black Ops 3, so it's interesting to see this issue crop up on this latest entry. I'm also very curious as to how this game will handle the planned large Battle Royale level design, and how things like textures and object detail will be handled as you travel from one area to the next. Weapon models, again, aren't identical between these two games, but what's interesting is that the weapon models themselves seem to look much worse in Black Ops 4. Textures look lower res, and the lighting and reflective quality just seems to be absent in the newer game. Even the muzzle flash doesn't seem to look as good. Lighting's a different story though. Both games feature a sort of bloom in the environments that looks relatively nice, albeit a bit exaggerated. The environments in both games are bright and colorful, but in Black Ops 4, the overall image looks a bit more washed out than in Black Ops 3. I think this is due in part to the serious lack of environmental shadows. Black Ops 3 has a ton of dark shadows and much better ambient occlusion overall. But Black Ops 4 looks really dull by comparison. It looks overly bright, possibly to make it easier to identify players running around, but it really hurts the overall presentation. The actual shadows from player models look a bit cleaner in Black Ops 4, with less edge shimmer. But again, shadows appear lighter than they do in Black Ops 3, and arguably it's less realistic. The environments in both titles are very nicely detailed, with great foliage design and plenty of decorative object population to help make the world feel more realistic. I really like the dynamic tarps at the start of this level, and some of the impressive explosive effects at the start of some of the other levels in Black Ops 4, but some of the more subtle particle effects like dust in Black Ops 3 doesn't seem to be present anymore. Now let's move on to special effects. I wanted to explore the special effects further, but unfortunately I was really limited to test things in Black Ops 4. Things like smoke grenades aren't even available to unlock in Black Ops 4 anymore, and standard frag grenades require a surprisingly high level to unlock. But by using a special cluster grenade, I was able to get a pretty good comparison that shows that Black Ops 4's explosions look a bit better. Since water plays such a minimal role in both games, I didn't really expect much in terms of water simulation. A funny thing I noticed in Black Ops 4 is that the fish don't react to player presence at all, despite that being a big joke back when Call of Duty Ghosts was being released. And finally, we have some sound comparisons, and while these weapons may not be identical to each other, they do serve the same purpose in terms of each game's specific weapon balancing. So which game do you think has the better sounding sound effects? And that about wraps up this direct comparison. What game do you think looks and sounds better? Let me know in the comments section, and if you want to hear more about Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and all the other biggest games coming out this fall, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos posted every week.